Okay, so are you ready to unlock some mysteries?
I think so.
We're diving into Eliphas Levi's The Key of the Mysteries.
Yeah.
This book is from 1861, and it is dense. It's symbolic, and it explores some really big questions,
Like what?
like the nature of reality,
Yeah.
true meaning of religion, and
Magic.
magic.
Yeah.
To help us kind of decode all this, we've got excerpts from Levi's book itself
Right.
and commentary from A.E. Yesity,
Mm-hmm.
a scholar of esoteric traditions from the early 20th century.
Okay.
So I'm excited to see where this deep dive takes us.
Yeah, me too.
What about you?
I'm ready to unpack this with you.
Yeah.
Levi is one of those thinkers who can really challenge your perspective,
Yeah.
but in a way that I think can spark a lot of aha moments.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Speaking of challenging perspectives, right off the bat, Levi's writing style is
Well,
unconventional to say the least.
definitely.
He loves to play with words, almost like he's creating his own secret code.
Yeah.
Like he'll swap syllables and combine words in unusual ways.
Right.
Almost as if he's trying to make us think differently about language itself.
Yeah.
So, for example, he takes a word like centohuman
Mm-hmm.
and flips it to centohoman.
Okay.
Is he just messing with us here? What's going on there?
I think it's more than just wordplay. I think it's like he's trying to wake us up to the hidden depths of language.
Okay.
By changing the way words look and sound, he forces us to pay attention to their structure, to the building blocks of meaning.
Mm-hmm.
It's as if he's saying, look closer. Language itself holds keys to unlocking the mysteries of existence.
I can see that.
Yeah.
It's like when a comedian uses like a pun or wordplay
Right.
to suddenly reveal the absurdity of something that we take for granted.
Yeah.
It makes you look at things in a whole new light.
Exactly. And for Levi, words weren't just tools for communication.
Right.
They were a bridge to deeper spiritual realities. He believed that by exploring the nuances of language, we could actually tap into a deeper understanding of ourselves and the universe.
Okay, so we've got Levi over here being all cryptic and playful with language.
Yeah.
But how did other scholars interpret his work?
Well,
What did our expert commentator for this deep dive,
right.
think about all of this?
Way was definitely impressed by Levi's intellect,
Mm-hmm.
but he also approached his claims with a healthy dose of skepticism.
Mhm.
In his commentary, he describes Levi's work as
Oh, really?
the high watermark of magical and Kabbalistic thought.
That's high praise.
Yeah, high praise. But Waite also raises concerns
Okay.
about Levi sometimes blurring the lines between personal belief and universal truth.
So it sounds like Levi was a brilliant, but maybe somewhat controversial figure.
Yeah, I think that's...
Would you say he was a genius who might have gotten carried away with his own ideas?
I think it's a delicate balance, and that's
Yeah.
what makes Levi so fascinating to study. He was making bold pronouncements about the nature of reality,
Yeah.
the power of the will, and the possibilities of magical practice.
Mm-hmm.
But as Waite reminds us,
Yeah.
we need to approach these ideas with a critical mind, not just take them at face value.
Okay.
Think for yourself.
Right.
Weigh the evidence
Mm.
and see where Levi's ideas resonate with your own experiences.
Yeah, it's like
Yeah.
he's giving us a map, but it's up to us to chart our own course through this landscape of ideas.
Yeah, that's a good way to put it.
Now, one of the things that struck me was Levi's take on religion.
Okay.
He seems to have a very different perspective than what you might find
Totally.
in a traditional religious setting.
Right.
So,
Absolutely. Levi argued that true religion isn't about blindly accepting dogma
yeah.
or following a set of rules.
Hmm.
It's about a direct personal experience of the divine.
Okay.
He even wrote, "Believe and you will understand. Science comes to say to you, understand and you will believe."
It's almost as if he's saying that true understanding leads to genuine belief.
Right.
Rather than the other way around.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, he saw true religion as a process of inner discovery, of awakening to a deeper reality that goes beyond the limitations
Yeah.
of the material world.
Okay.
In fact, he believed that eventually science would evolve
Wow.
beyond purely materialistic explanations
Yeah.
and acknowledge the existence of a higher power.
That's a bold prediction, especially for someone writing in the mid-19th century.
It is.
It makes you wonder what he would think about the state of science and spirituality today.
Yeah, for sure.
But I'm curious, how does this idea of experiencing the divine connect to his interest in magic?
Oh.
Did he see magic as a pathway to that kind of religious experience?
That's a great question, and one that we'll definitely explore as we dive deeper.
Okay.
But to get a glimpse into how Levi connected these ideas,
Okay.
let's look at what he had to say about charity.
Charity.
Yeah.
Like giving to those in need.
Yeah, exactly.
What does that have to do with magic?
Well, Levi saw charity not just as a moral duty, but as a fundamental force in the universe.
Okay.
He believed that acts of selfless love and compassion actually tap into a universal power.
So he's
He
saying,
called it the great magical agent.
wow.
Yeah.
So he's suggesting that acts of kindness could be a form of magic. I'm intrigued.
It is a radical idea.
Yeah.
And it's central to Levi's whole system.
Yeah.
He believed that by cultivating love and compassion, we could actually connect
Two?
to a deeper, more powerful reality
Okay.
and influence the world around us in positive ways.
Okay. This is starting to get really interesting.
Yeah.
Levi is weaving together spirituality, philosophy, and even science
Yeah,
in a way that I wouldn't have expected.
totally.
Now, earlier you mentioned this concept of the ternary.
Yeah, the ternary.
Can you explain what that is and how it fits into his overall system?
So the ternary is Levi's way of describing
Okay.
the threefold nature of existence.
Okay. It represents the interplay of God,
Right.
humanity, and the universe.
Okay.
He saw these three elements as distinct,
Right.
yet interconnected and constantly influencing one another.
Okay.
He used the example of a family, the mother and the child, to illustrate this concept.
Yeah.
The father representing the active creative force, the mother, the passive receptive force,
Okay.
and the child, the result of their union.
So is this like the original force be with you?
You could see it that.
That kind of cosmic energy that flows through everything?
But it's also more nuanced than that.
Yeah.
It's about the dynamic interplay of these three forces.
Right.
The passive, and the result of their union.
Okay.
That shapes reality as we know it.
Okay, I like that.
Yeah.
It's not just about some abstract force.
Yeah.
It's about how these forces interact and play out in our own lives, in our relationships, in the world around us.
Exactly.
Yeah. And this brings us back to how we can actually access and understand these forces.
Okay.
For Levi, this is where the power of symbols comes in.
So symbols are like the language of this cosmic interplay.
Think of symbols as a bridge between the material world and the spiritual realm. They're like a secret code embedded in the fabric of reality. For Levi, they weren't just abstract representations. They were keys to unlocking hidden meanings and connecting to a deeper level of understanding.
Right.
He was particularly drawn to numbers and letters.
Right.
But he also saw symbolic meaning in geometric shapes,
Yeah.
natural phenomena, and even in the stories and myths passed down through generations.
I can see how that would be relevant to his interpretation of the Bible.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
Which we'll dive into later.
Yeah.
But can you give me a specific example of how Levi used symbols? What kind of code was he trying to crack?
Let's take the number 3,
Okay.
which plays a huge role in his system.
Okay.
It obviously connects to the ternary, but it also represents a fundamental principle of creation and manifestation.
Okay.
You see it everywhere. Beginning, middle, end, past, present, future. Think about the power of a triangle.
Right.
A symbol used in many spiritual traditions.
Yeah.
For Levi, these connections were everywhere waiting to be decoded.
Right.
He also drew inspiration from ancient texts like the Clavi of Solomon, which explore magical practices and the use of talismans,
Okay.
and the Sefer Yetzirah,
Yeah.
a foundational text of Kabbalah,
Right.
which delves into the mystical significance of Hebrew letters and numbers.
So by studying these symbols and understanding their deeper meaning,
Right.
we can gain insights into the workings of the universe,
Yeah.
the dynamics of creation, and even our own place in the grand scheme of things.
Exactly. And for Levi, this wasn't just an intellectual exercise.
Right.
He believed that by understanding and working with symbols, we could actually connect to the divine,
Okay.
tap into hidden wisdom, and potentially influence
Oh,
the course of our lives and even the world around us.
that's pretty powerful stuff.
Yeah.
But I have to admit, it also sounds a bit like something out of a fantasy novel.
Right.
How do we reconcile Levi's ideas about magic and symbolism with our modern scientific understanding of the world?
That's a question that a lot of people wrestle with
Yeah.
when they encounter Levi's work.
Yeah.
And it's something we'll definitely explore further
Oh,
as we go deeper into his ideas. But I think it's important to remember that Levi wasn't just talking about spells and incantations.
Right.
He was seeking a transformation of consciousness,
Okay.
a shift away from purely material pursuits to a deeper understanding of our place in the cosmos.
So it's less about magic in the Harry Potter sense?
Yeah,
And more about tapping into a deeper level of awareness and understanding.
I think so.
Almost like he's saying that we all have the potential to be magicians in our own way.
Yeah,
By using our will, our emotions, and
right.
our thoughts to shape our reality.
You're picking up on something really important there. Levi believed that true magic was about aligning ourselves with the divine will,
Okay.
with acting in accordance with the principles of love, compassion, and justice.
Mhm.
It was about recognizing the divine spark within each of us
Right.
and cultivating that spark through self-knowledge, spiritual practice, and ethical living.
Okay.
And he saw this as a path not just to personal fulfillment,
Right.
but to a greater transformation of humanity and the world as a whole.
And that brings us to his vision of reintegration, right?
Right.
This idea of humanity overcoming division and entering into a new covenant
Yes.
based on unity and understanding.
Exactly. And this vision is incredibly powerful.
Yeah.
Levi wrote about a lofty constellation of a new race where the stars will be our gleaming ships.
Wow.
Yeah.
It's like a spiritual evolution he's described.
Precisely. And this evolution for Levi was intimately tied to the divine spark that he believed resided within each individual. By cultivating that spark, by connecting to the great magical age, through love and compassion, humanity could unlock its true potential
Okay.
and usher in this new era of unity and understanding.
This is already a lot to take in.
It is a lot.
But I'm feeling like we're just scratching the surface of Levi's ideas.
We are.
And I'm definitely curious to explore more.
I agree.
What do you say? We take a break here and come back to delve deeper into some specific examples of how Levi applied his system.
Sounds good.
We can look at his take on the Bible,
Right.
his use of symbols, and his vision for the future.
Okay. Sounds like a plan.
All right.
There's a lot more to uncover
Yeah.
in the Key of the Mysteries, and I'm looking forward to diving back in with you.
Yeah, me too. Let's take a break, and we'll be right back after this.
Welcome back to our deep dive into Eliphas Levi's The Key of the Mysteries.
Yeah.
Before the break, we were starting to unpack some of Levi's key ideas.
Right.
His unconventional thinking, his emphasis on experiencing the divine, the power of symbols, and his vision of reintegration. Now, are you ready to explore how he applied these ideas to one of the most influential texts of all time, the Bible?
I'm ready.
Okay.
I'm especially curious about how Levi approached the Bible.
Right.
Considering his unconventional views on religion,
Yeah.
did he see it as literally true, or
This is where
was there something else going on there?
This is where Levi really challenges traditional interpretations.
What?
He believed that the Bible, like many sacred texts, shouldn't be taken literally,
Right.
but understood symbolically.
Right.
He saw it as a repository of ancient wisdom encoded in myths and allegories,
So yeah.
not necessarily historical fact.
So he wasn't taking those stories about miracles in creation at face value.
Not exactly.
Right.
He believed that the true power of the Bible lies in its deeper symbolic meaning.
Okay.
For him, these stories were pointing to universal truths about human nature, the divine and the relationship between them.
Okay, so give me an example.
Okay.
What's the Levi-fied reading of a Bible story that might surprise people?
Let's take the story of Adam and Eve.
Okay.
The traditional interpretation, as you know, is that they represent the first humans who disobeyed God and were cast out of paradise.
Yes.
But Levi offered a completely different perspective.
What's that?
He saw Adam and Eve as symbols of two aspects of human consciousness.
Okay.
Adam representing the intellect,
Okay.
the reasoning mind,
Right.
while Eve represents the emotions, the intuitive side.
Fascinating.
Right.
So it's not about a literal fall from grace,
Right.
but about the interplay of these different aspects of ourselves.
Exactly.
But what about the serpent tempting them with the apple?
Okay.
How does that fit into Levi's symbolic interpretation?
So the serpent for Levi represents the material world,
Go ahead.
the realm of the senses,
Right,
which
yeah.
can distract us from our spiritual purpose, and the apple. It symbolizes knowledge, but not just any knowledge.
Yeah.
The knowledge of good and evil,
Right.
the knowledge that comes from experiencing the duality of the material world.
So the fall from grace isn't about disobeying God,
Right.
but about becoming caught up in the illusions of the material world
Yeah.
and losing sight of our divine connection.
You got it.
Okay.
And this separation from the divine,
Right.
this feeling of being lost and disconnected,
Mm-hmm.
is what leads to suffering and limitation in Levi's view.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
And it ties back to his concept of reintegration,
Right.
this idea of reclaiming that lost connection.
Exactly.
Okay.
And Levi believed that reclaiming that connection begins with self-knowledge,
Mm.
with understanding the forces at play within our own consciousness.
Okay.
And this is where we circle back to the ternary.
So how does the ternary apply to individual humans?
Okay.
We talked about it in terms of God,
Right.
humanity,
Mm-hmm.
and the universe, but how does it play out within each of us?
Remember, the ternary represents the interplay of three forces,
Okay.
the passive,
Yeah.
and the result of their union
Yeah.
in the human context.
Mhm.
This translates to will,
Okay.
feeling, and thought.
Okay.
The will is the active force,
Okay.
striving for change and action.
Right.
The feeling is the passive force, receptive to impressions and emotions.
Okay.
And thought arises from the union of will and feeling,
Right.
shaping our understanding of the world.
It's almost like a recipe for conscious creation, isn't it?
Yeah, you could say that.
You have the will that desires something,
Yeah.
the feeling that fuels that desire,
Right.
and the thought that gives it form and direction.
That's a great way to put it.
Okay.
And it brings us back to Levi's idea that charity is a form of magic.
Right.
Remember how we talked about acts of selfless love and compassion tapping into a universal power? Well, when we cultivate those qualities, we're essentially aligning our will,
Right.
our feelings, and our thoughts with the divine will.
Okay.
And in doing so, we tap into a powerful creative force
Okay.
that can shape our reality.
That's a really empowering idea.
It is.
But I have to confess, I'm still a bit lost when it comes to symbols.
Yeah.
How do they fit into all of this? How can we use them to understand ourselves and the universe better?
Remember how we talked about symbols being like a bridge between the material world and the spiritual realm?
Right. Yeah.
Well, Levi believed that by meditating on symbols,
Okay.
we could tap into deeper meanings and insights.
So it's not just about passively observing symbols,
Right.
but actively engaging with them, contemplating their deeper significance.
Exactly.
Okay.
He recommended meditating on images like the Tree of Life from Kabbalah
Right.
or the tarot, which he saw as a powerful tool for understanding the archetypes of human experience.
Okay.
He saw symbols as keys that could unlock hidden doors within ourselves, leading to greater self-awareness and spiritual growth.
Okay, so we've got meditation, contemplation,
Yeah.
working with symbols, living a virtuous life.
Yeah.
It's starting to feel like a whole system for personal and spiritual development.
And for Levi, all of these practices were interconnected.
Right.
He believed that by engaging in these practices, by cultivating our inner world,
Right.
we could not only transform ourselves, but also contribute to a larger transformation of humanity and the world as a whole.
That's a beautiful idea.
It is.
But was Levi only focused on the positive aspects of spiritual exploration? Did he ever talk about the potential dangers
Yeah, he did.
or the possibility of misusing this knowledge?
He definitely did. In fact, he had some pretty strong warnings about the misuse of power.
So it's not enough to just have knowledge.
Right.
You have to have the right intention behind it.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Levi believed that those who sought spiritual or magical knowledge for selfish gain, or who lacked a moral foundation of love and compassion,
Yeah.
would ultimately corrupt themselves and cause harm to others.
Right.
He saw true power as being inseparable from ethical responsibility.
Okay.
He believed that those who sought power for its own sake would inevitably fall into darkness.
That makes me think of all those stories about dark magicians or sorcerers who go down the wrong path and end up causing chaos and destruction.
Yeah,
Are those stories just fantasy?
I think.
Or do they reflect a deeper truth about the nature of power?
I think they reflect a very real danger that Levi was keenly aware of.
Okay.
He believed that true spiritual power always comes with a responsibility to use it wisely
Yeah.
and for the benefit of all beings.
Right.
And those who forget this truth do so at their own peril.
Okay, so there are definitely some cautionary notes here.
Yeah,
But ultimately, Levi's message seems to be one of hope, right?
I think so.
He believed in the possibility of a transformed humanity.
Absolutely. Despite all the warnings and the potential pitfalls,
Right.
Levi was deeply optimistic about humanity's future.
Okay.
Yeah,
This has been quite a journey so far.
it has.
But I'm sensing that there's still more to explore,
there is.
especially when it comes to Levi's vision of the future
Yeah.
and how we can apply his ideas to our own lives.
Yeah, I agree.
Sure.
It's that. And in our final segment, we'll delve into those aspects.
Okay.
We'll look at what Levi had to say about the future of humanity,
Yeah.
the importance of ethical living, and what it truly means to unlock the key of the mysteries in our own lives.
Okay, I'm ready for that. Welcome back to our deep dive into the key of the mysteries. We've been exploring some pretty mind-bending concepts with Eliphas Levi,
We have.
from his unconventional use of language to his symbolic interpretations of the Bible. Levi definitely challenges us to think outside the box.
He does.
But I'm wondering, how can we actually apply these ideas to our own lives? Did Levi offer any practical guidance for those seeking spiritual transformation?
He did. While he didn't prescribe like a rigid set of practices, he did emphasize the importance of inner work.
Okay.
He believed that real spiritual development starts with self-knowledge, with understanding the forces at play within our own consciousness.
So we're back to the ternary again, right?
Exactly.
Will, feeling, thought,
Yeah.
getting those in harmony.
Levi believed this involved a process of purification and refinement.
Okay. He talked about the importance of mastering our desires and impulses, of gaining control over our thoughts and emotions.
Mm-hmm.
He saw this as the foundation for any kind of spiritual or magical practice.
It's like he's saying we need to declutter our mental and emotional space before we can start building something new and worthwhile. But how do we actually do that? Where do we even begin?
Levi was a big advocate for meditation and contemplation.
Okay.
He believed that by quieting the mind and turning inward, we can connect to our higher selves and access deeper levels of wisdom and understanding.
So it's not just about sitting on a cushion and emptying your mind.
Right.
It's more about active reflection, about using that quiet space to explore and understand ourselves better.
You're right, it's not just about blanking out your thoughts. Levi saw meditation as a tool for self-discovery, for exploring the hidden depths of our being and uncovering our true potential. And remember how we talked about symbols being like keys to unlocking hidden meanings?
Yeah.
Well, Levi believed that we could use symbols in our meditation practice to tap into even deeper levels of insight. Can you give us an example of what that might look like?
Imagine you're meditating on the image of the tree of life from Kabbalah. As you focus on the different branches and pathways of the tree, you might start to see connections to different aspects of your own life, your strengths, your challenges, the patterns that repeat themselves. Or you might meditate on a specific tarot card, allowing the imagery and symbolism to guide your reflection.
Okay.
Levi believed that these kinds of practices could help us understand the archetypes that shape our experiences, the forces that are at play both within ourselves and in the world around us.
That's interesting. It makes me think about Carl Jung's work on archetypes and the collective unconscious. It seems like there are some connections there.
There are definitely some parallels. Both Levi and Jung were exploring the deeper layers of the human psyche, the symbolic language of the unconscious, and the ways in which these deeper forces shape our lives and experiences.
So we've got meditation, contemplation, working with symbols.
Yeah.
What else did Levi suggest for those on a spiritual path?
He also placed a lot of importance on living a virtuous life, on cultivating qualities like love, compassion, and justice. He saw these not just as moral ideals, but as essential for spiritual growth. Remember how we talked about his idea that charity is a form of magic?
Yeah.
Well, this is where that idea really comes into play.
So it's about aligning our actions with our spiritual aspirations, walking the walk, not just talking the talk.
Exactly. Levi believed that our actions have consequences not just in the material world, but on a deeper spiritual level. He saw acts of kindness, compassion, and generosity as ways to connect with the great magical agent, to tap into a universal force for good and contribute to positive change in the world. It's about recognizing the interconnectedness of all things and understanding that our choices ripple outward, affecting not just ourselves, but the entire web of life.
This reminds me of the butterfly effect, the idea that even small actions can have a huge impact, creating a ripple effect that spreads far and wide.
Yeah.
It's a powerful reminder that we each have the potential to make a difference.
And Levi would absolutely agree with that. He believed that we are all co-creators of our reality, and that by aligning ourselves with love, compassion, and wisdom, we can contribute to a more harmonious and just world. But he also warned about the potential dangers of seeking spiritual knowledge for selfish or harmful purposes.
It's like that saying, with great power comes great responsibility. It sounds like Levi was keenly aware of the ethical implications of his teachings.
He was. He believed that those who sought power for its own sake, or who used their knowledge to manipulate or control others, would ultimately corrupt themselves and bring about their own downfall. He saw true power as coming from a place of love and service, from a desire to uplift and empower others, not to dominate or control them. He emphasized that true magic is about aligning ourselves with the divine will, which he saw as inherently good and life-affirming.
It's a powerful message, and one that feels particularly relevant today in a world where we see so much misuse of power and so much suffering caused by greed and selfishness. But amidst all the challenges we face, did Levi offer a vision of hope for the future? Did he believe that humanity could overcome these challenges and create a better world?
He did. He believed that humanity was on a journey of spiritual evolution, and that while there would be setbacks and challenges along the way, we ultimately had the potential to transcend our limitations and create a world of peace, harmony, and enlightenment. Remember that evocative line we talked about earlier, "The stars will be our gleaming ships."
Yeah,
That's a glimpse into the future, that Levi envisioned a future where humanity embraces its true potential and embarks on a new journey of exploration and discovery.
that's a beautiful image.
Hmm.
Speaks to a sense of possibility and hope, a reminder that we're not limited by the boundaries of our current reality. But how do we get there? What are the steps we can take both individually and collectively to move towards that brighter future?
I think Levi would say that it starts with each of us taking responsibility for our own spiritual growth and transformation. It's about cultivating self-knowledge, practicing compassion and generosity, and aligning our actions with our highest ideals. It's about recognizing the divine spark within ourselves and within every being, and working to create a world that reflects that inherent goodness. It's a journey, not a destination, and there will be challenges along the way. But I believe that by embracing Levi's principles of love, wisdom, and ethical action, we can create a ripple effect of positive change that can transform not only our own lives, but the world as a whole.
This has been a truly fascinating deep dive. Levi has given us a lot to think about, to contemplate, to explore further. I'm feeling inspired, and I'm sure our listeners are too.
I agree. Levi's work is a treasure trove of wisdom and insight, and it invites us to embark on our own journeys of self-discovery and spiritual exploration.
And if our listeners are feeling inspired to dive deeper into Levi's work or to explore some of the concepts we discussed today, we encourage you to do so. There's a world of knowledge and wisdom waiting to be discovered.
And remember, the most important journey is the one you take within yourself. By unlocking the mysteries within you, unlock the potential to create a better world for yourself and for all of us.
Thank you for joining us on this deep dive into Eliphas Levi's The Key of the Mysteries. We'll be back next time with another thought-provoking exploration of ideas that matter. Until then, keep seeking, keep questioning, and keep unlocking those mysteries within.